Good morning. Happy Wednesday. It's hump day, hump day. Unless you're in Australia, in which case hump day was yesterday. So I hope you had a good hump day if you're in Australia. So in the Decastro versus the prosecutor in Las Vegas, Clark County, I think, Decastro versus Clark County. He filed his opposition to the motion to dismiss based on qualified immunity. And I read it, and I saw something that was very interesting, that a motion to dismiss was for qualified immunity should come after discovery. There should be time for it, which I thought was odd. A 12b6 motion is a motion on the pleadings. So how could you do that after discovery and fact gathering? So that was odd to me. I'm definitely way overdue for a haircut and a beard trim. And he cited two cases for it. I thought, well, that'd be pretty interesting to see what cases he has that suggests that like a motion to dismiss based on prosecutorial immunity would have to come after some discovery. The first case that he cited was a appeal on a judgment notwithstanding the verdict. JNOV is what they call it. I don't remember what the Latin term for it is. Basically where it's gone to trial, the jury has rendered a judgment, and the court says, well, based on the facts that were presented, there's no way you could have come to this, so I'm going to actually, or there's some law that maybe prevents this particular outcome, so I'm going to set aside the jury's verdict, and I'm going to issue my own. It's not a favored thing to do, but the judge has that power, subject to review. Basically to prevent, like usually you use it like if like the jury gives some extreme award like $50 trillion, you ask for a JNOV to have the court reduce that to a realistic sum, things like that. But in this particular case, they asked for a couple different things. One of the things that they asked for in the JNOV was qualified immunity, because apparently they'd filed a 12b6. The court had reserved on the issue. Reserving on the issue means that the court's heard the arguments, but hasn't made a decision on it. He's reserved on the decision on that particular motion. So he hasn't denied it, but he also hasn't granted it. He's reserved it to make a decision at a later date. But nothing in the appeal said that you had to wait for 12b6, especially on prosecutorial immunity, which was not addressed at all in this particular case. The other case was a case where someone had sued a California, I forget what they call them, child, where they are pulling kids out of homes that are, I don't know why I have a low grade fever today, so I apologize, I'm a little bit off. Where they could pull kids out of homes, CPS. He'd sued CPS, Child Protective Services. Sorry, words are hard today. And they had filed a 12b6 for failure to state a cause of action. Not immunity, but failure to state a cause of action. And then the Monell liability would go away if the individual CPS people were dismissed, right? So the issue on the appeal was whether or not the lower court should have dismissed it with prejudice or without prejudice, because the court had dismissed it with prejudice, and the Court of Appeal said, no, you should have dismissed it without prejudice so that they could amend their complaint to allege facts sufficient to state a cause of action. You need to give them that opportunity. You shouldn't preclude them from going forward unless it becomes clear that there's no way they can go forward. Again, it doesn't apply to this case. In this case, the facts are very simple. The police made an arrest. The police thought they had probable cause. The prosecutor looked at the case, decided to file charges. He thought they had probable cause. A judge during a probable cause hearing found there was probable cause. A judge at trial gave a conviction. All of these things, I get it that on appeal he won. I get that. But the fact remains that there can be probable cause even if a crime wasn't committed. There can be probable cause that you committed a crime even if you didn't commit the crime. You could be factually 100% innocent, but there can still be probable cause. And so there is ample evidence that there was probable cause. Ample evidence. He was confirmed, the probable cause was confirmed by a court in a hearing, a contested hearing where Decastro was present. He may have been represented by an attorney at that point. I think he was. I think he was represented by, he had two attorneys. I think it was Michael Mee that was the attorney at that time. He then got a different one to represent him for the appeal, but I think it was Michael Mee at that point. So the issue of whether or not there was probable cause, and that's what all of this hinges on. If there was probable cause, prosecutorial immunity is almost guaranteed. So neither of the cases that he cited were on point. So, I mean, you need to tune your ChatGPT, Chili. Your AI is failing you. Your argument is not convincing because the cases that you cite to support your argument don't support your argument. I expect, and again, the court may give him a lot of leeway, but I expect the motion to dismiss for prosecutorial immunity, I expect that to be successful. The court may grant it and dismiss with leave to amend, but I don't know how Chile can amend it to make it actually viable. I mean, it's really hard when the prosecutor has had a probable cause hearing and the court has found there's probable cause. It's really hard to say that the prosecutor didn't have probable cause. It's really hard to say that. And even I thought there was probable cause. And it wasn't until I heard the officer say, and I reflected on it at trial, that he did what he did because of what Chile was saying. Then I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, well maybe there's a problem. Maybe there's a problem. I totally disagree with the appeal that Chile's attorney, the opinion on the appeal, the order on the appeal that Chile's attorney drafted. I think it went beyond what the judge ordered, but the judge signed it. So, who am I to criticize at this point? I don't think it's going to carry a lot of weight in the federal court, though, because, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Someone asked me to comment on the shooting of that guy named Pretti. And it's hard for me to comment. Again, the same general, I guess, warning or advice that I give is don't fight with the police. Your odds of getting hurt and or killed increase exponentially if you fight with the police. Don't fight with the police when you're armed. Don't try to take the officer's gun. I mean, these are all pretty standard, like common sense kind of things. I watched a couple of videos on it, the ICE officers were attempting to arrest some gal. I don't know who. I don't know why. Doesn't really matter. And he decided to interfere with it. He decided to lay his hands on a federal law enforcement agent. Like, that's a felony. Interfering with someone else's arrest is a felony. You can't assault police officers. Even if they're ICE agents, they're police officers, they're federal law enforcement officers, they have general law enforcement powers. You can't assault them. You just can't do it. It's a felony. And if you do it with a firearm, that increases the likelihood of you getting shot. If you decide to carry the handgun that is the most likely to go off on its own, that also increases it, because once a shot's fired, those cops are going to put their bullets in what they perceive to be the origin of the shot being fired. If they can't see, but you're firing a gun, or your gun fires and they can't see, they're gonna light you up. I mean, it's sad, it's tragic. I'm not saying he deserved to die. I'm not saying anything like that, but it is a completely foreseeable outcome. 100% foreseeable. It's predictable. I guess he was carrying the firearm and 2 spare magazines loaded. Now, I am a big proponent of the Second Amendment, and I don't think he was shot because he was carrying. I think he was shot because he interfered with the police. If he just stood on the sideline and minded his own business, maybe blew a whistle and shouted, fuck ICE or whatever, if that's all he did, he'd be fine today. Probably. I mean, I'm not God. I can't predict the future, but he wasn't targeted because he was carrying. He was targeted because he interfered. Now, maybe his gun didn't go off. That's the way I interpret it. But, should there be some sort of a hearing on it? Absolutely. Absolutely. It should be investigated. Make sure that those ICE agents actually did the right thing. Make sure they followed protocol. Make sure that they had justification for the shoot. We don't want, well, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I don't want police officers just randomly shooting people. I have a strong suspicion that it was justified, but I mean, I would like to defer on that particular one. I think the first one, good. She, A, drove into the cop. B, while the cop was trying to arrest her. I mean, fleeing the scene, evading. I mean, so many crimes were committed by her, but she hit the cop. Like, Pretti didn't shoot anybody that I'm aware of. I don't believe any of the cops were shot. So, I'm much less certain that it was a justified shoot, but it was probably a justified shoot. Probably. Now, all my common sense, don't fight with the police, goes out the window if it's your intention to go out and fight with the police. It all goes out the window if it's your intention to cause an incident. It all goes out the window if that's what you want to have happen, either yourself or to someone else, to become a martyr for a cause, to incite people so that you get clips taken out of context and plastered all over Blue Sky or X or whatever, and rally more freedom fighters to your cause. Got to fight the Nazis, right? Because Donald Trump, a 1980s Manhattan Democrat, is all of a sudden the tiny mustache man reincarnate. Enforcing border laws, which Democrats used to be huge on, because borders and tariffs protected American workers. The Democratic Party used to be huge on it, and it was Republicans who were like, free trade, blah, blah, blah. But if enforcing a state's borders, a nation's borders, is Nazism, like what isn't at this point? Like, is any law not authoritarian? Like, all laws are authoritarian. That's the nature of law. What law isn't authoritarian? What law isn't preventing someone from doing something they want to do? They're all authoritarian. So if your definition of Nazism is just any law that's being enforced by a government that you disagree with, I mean, then what is it? You know, again, those words, racist, sexist, homophobic, Nazi, whatever, they've lost impact, is my position, and the position that I see a lot. And for people who want to say that these are peaceful protests, I would challenge you to go look at like the civil rights marches of the 60s. You had the clear nonviolent people, and you had the clear overreaction by the government forces, sicking dogs on them, spraying them down with fire hose. And the marchers were doing things like marching. They weren't getting up in the cops' faces. They weren't starting incidences. They were just marching. When they do the sit-ins at the soda fountains, whatever they'd call them, you know, they would just sit there and try to make an order. That was enough to get them arrested. That was enough, right? But they're not. I guess the anti-ICE people aren't getting the kind of results they want from peaceful protesting. So they call what they're doing peaceful protesting, just like First Amendment auditors say, "I'm just filming," when actually they're provoking. So they're not peaceful protests. Just like the First Amendment auditors mostly aren't just filming. So. But anyway, what is the opinion of a first-year family law attorney matter anyway? I hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope you all stay safe out there. For those of you who are blackpilling about how this Minnesota thing is going to destroy America, I don't think it will. We went through almost identical things during the Summer of Love, if you remember, in Portland. I mean, it was just as chaotic, just as violent. There were attacks on federal buildings, like federal judiciary buildings. I mean, we've been through it before. Is it getting worse? Probably, but the way communism and socialism work is that they eat the elephant bite by bite. They don't eat the elephant all at once. So stay hopeful, stay safe. Try not to be an asshole to anybody. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.